Suge Knight was a giant in the world of hip-hop. He co-founded Death Row Records, a label that dominated the 1990s with artists like Tupac Shakur, Snoop Dogg, and Dr. Dre. Knight was known for his intimidating presence and aggressive business tactics. However, his success was often overshadowed by his involvement in the violent gangsta rap scene and numerous run-ins with the law. By 2015, Knight was no longer the powerful figure he once was, but his reputation preceded him. His story, once one of triumph, was turning into a cautionary tale of power, greed, and the dark side of the music industry. Knight's fall from grace culminated in a tragic incident on January 29, 2015. An argument on the set of the NWA biopic in Compton, California, escalated into a fatal confrontation. Knight, who was already on thin ice legally, was involved in an altercation with Terry Carter, a respected music producer, and CLE Bone Sloan, a former gang member turned actor. The confrontation ended with Knight running over both men with his Ford F-150 Raptor truck in a Tam's Burgers parking lot. Sloan survived with severe injuries, but Carter sadly did not. This event sent shockwaves through the music industry and beyond, marking a dark turn in Suge Knight's already troubled life. The incident at Tam's Burgers instantly became a national news story. Witnesses described a chaotic scene with shouting and threats escalating into physical violence. Security footage showed Knight's truck accelerating towards Carter and Sloan, leaving no doubt that the act was intentional. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department launched a full-scale investigation, and Knight, facing mounting evidence against him, surrendered to authorities. He was charged with murder, attempted unliving, and hit and run, with the prosecution alleging that Knight deliberately ran down Carter and Sloan. The incident had a devastating impact on Terry Carter's family. Carter, a beloved figure in the music industry, was described as a peacemaker, a man who avoided conflict. His death left a gaping hole in the lives of his wife Lillian and his daughters Nakaya and Crystal. They sought justice for their husband and father, determined to hold Suge Knight accountable for his actions. In 2015, the Carter family filed a wrongful, unliving lawsuit against Knight, seeking damages for their loss and demanding recognition of Knight's culpability in the tragedy. This lawsuit marked the beginning of a long and painful legal battle for both families involved, throwing them into a vortex of court hearings, testimonies, and agonizing delays. The wrongful death lawsuit filed by Carter's family argued that Knight's actions were not only negligent, but also intentional, driven by anger and disregard for human life. They claimed that Knight had a history of violence and intimidation, citing his past legal troubles as evidence of a pattern of behavior. The family sought financial compensation for the loss of Carter's income, companionship, and emotional support, as well as punitive damages to hold Knight accountable for his actions. The lawsuit detailed the family's suffering, painting a heartbreaking picture of their lives forever altered by the tragedy. Knight, however, maintained his innocence. His defense team argued that he acted in self-defense. They claimed that Knight was ambushed by Sloan and others at Tam's Burgers, and that he was fleeing for his life when he accidentally ran over Carter. They painted a picture of Knight as a victim, targeted for his fame and wealth. This defense strategy, however, was met with skepticism by the prosecution and the public, who found it difficult to reconcile with the witness testimonies and video evidence. The trial became a battle of narratives, with both sides presenting conflicting versions of events. The jury was left to sift through the evidence and determine the truth behind the tragic confrontation. The legal battle dragged on for years. In 2018, Suge Knight, facing a potential life sentence, took a plea deal. He pleaded no contest to voluntary manslaughter and was sentenced to 28 years in prison. While the criminal case concluded, the civil lawsuit filed by Carter's family continued. The first civil trial in 2022 ended in a mistrial, with the jury split 7-5 in favor of the plaintiffs. Facing another lengthy and emotionally draining trial, both sides opted for a settlement. In April 2025, almost a decade after the fatal incident, Suge Knight agreed to pay $1.5 million to Terry Carter's family, avoiding a retrial. Each plaintiff, Lillian, Nakaya, and Crystal Carter, received $500,000. While Knight expressed his condolences to the Carter family, he maintained his innocence, stating that the settlement was not an admission of guilt but a gesture of respect for his late friend, Terry Carter. The Carter family, while accepting the settlement, expressed their ongoing pain and the deep void left by Terry's absence. Lillian Carter, in a poignant statement, shared that no amount of money could ever compensate for the loss of her husband. The settlement brought an end to the legal saga, but for both families involved, the scars of the tragedy run deep. For Suge Knight, it marked another chapter in a life marred by controversy and violence. For the Carter family, the settlement offered a degree of closure but no real solace, their lives forever marked by